What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to the Tailgate Nate Sports Show. I cover the NFL, MLB, NBA, MLS, and NHL. Today I'm going to be covering the week from August 30th to September 5th. We are already in September in the sports world, and on the agenda today, the NFL season starts this week. It kicks off on Thursday with the Texans and Chiefs. Who do I think is going to win Super Bowl 55, along with other NFL predictions? The trade deadline came and went in Major League Baseball. Who were the winners and losers of a busy trade deadline? Then the conference finals are set in the NHL. Who do I think is going to advance to the Stanley Cup final? All of that and more coming up on the Tailgate Nate Sports Show. Okay, we again start with the NFL, and it was a busy week in the NFL as we get close to the season. I'm going to run through all these headlines really fast, and with cut day and all these signings, I know I missed an absolute ton of players being cut and everything like that, but I went with what I thought were the most important and most significant players. So the Jaguars trade defensive end Yannick Ngakoue to the Vikings. Of course, a great defensive end. Hasn't really had a whole lot of playoff runs with the Jaguars, but with the Vikings, could improve that Vikings defensive line, and I think that's a great addition for Minnesota. Eagles rookie wide receiver Jalen Reagor is going to be out 3 to 4 weeks with a shoulder injury. So he was kind of a surprise pick by the Eagles in the first round, taking the wide receiver out of TCU, and he could be missing pretty much the first quarter of the season with a shoulder injury. The Jaguars release running back Leonard Fournette, and I have a headline down there later, but I mean, wow, that is a big cut by the Jaguars. The NFL takes over the probe for the Washington football team and the Dan Snyder incident. So the NFL has said, you guys haven't done enough. We're going to go ahead and push forward with this on our own. So we'll have to see what comes out of there. The Buccaneers signed veteran kicker Ryan Succop, and they released Elliott Fry. Ryan Succop would later win the job as kicker. So he's going to be kicking field goals for the Buccaneers this year. The Bengals have their running back position set, signing Joe Mixon to a 4-year, $48 million extension. So, again, the running back set there in Cincinnati. The Patriots cut wide receiver Mohamed Sanu, so hopefully he can get back on the team. I like watching Mohamed Sanu play as he was a former Bengal and former Falcon, now a former Patriot. We'll have to see if he gets on team. And the Buccaneers end up signing Leonard Fournette, just adding to that stacked roster they already have with Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and now Leonard Fournette. And Washington released Adrian Peterson. Released by the Washington football team, so we'll have to see if he gets on a team. The Dolphins released quarterback Josh Rosen. So Josh Rosen not going to be the quarterback for the Dolphins. Again, we'll have to see if he gets picked up before the NFL season starts. The Texans and Deshaun Watson agree to a 4-year, $177.5 million extension. And in the press conference, Deshaun Watson got emotional about it. So I think he likes staying in Houston and definitely is Houston's franchise player. And then Jadeveon Clowney, a former Houston Texan and former Seattle Seahawk, is going to sign with the Tennessee Titans. That's an absolute huge sign for the Tennessee Titans. So there are headlines. Again, I know I missed a lot. But let's get into some NFL predictions. So what I'm going to give you is with the expanded playoff field, I'm going to give you all the teams I think are going to make the playoffs. I'm going to give you a sleeper team in each conference, and I'm going to give you my Super Bowl predictions before the season even starts. So let's start with the AFC. Here we go in the AFC. I'm sorry, my picture is blocking that, but the Super Bowl runner-up is going to be in blue, and the Super Bowl winner is going to be in red. So keep that in mind. So here are how I have the standings. I have the Ravens, the Titans, the Bills, and the Chiefs winning their divisions. You can pause the video now, take a look at standings, critique me if you want. But here we go. Here are my predictions. Of course, the Ravens, Titans, Bills, and Chiefs all get a playoff spot. So then who are going to be the 3 wildcard teams? In my opinion, it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts, and the New England Patriots, I think, barely squeak by the Denver Broncos for that 7th and final playoff spot. And my sleeper team is the Cleveland Browns. They've been a sleeper team for a lot of years and just have not performed. I really do think now they have been injury battled, but I do think that the Cleveland Browns are the sleeper team in the AFC. And I have the Kansas City Chiefs repeating as Super Bowl champions. So now let's move on to the NFC here. Here's how I have the standings shaking out. Vikings, Saints, Cowboys, and Seahawks on top of their divisions all get the playoff spot. I thought the NFC was a little bit more difficult to figure out as just a lot of improvement, de-improvement in the NFC. I think it's going to be a more competitive conference than the AFC. But here's how I have the playoff field shaking out. I have the Packers, Buccaneers, and 49ers all getting in with the wild card spots. And my sleeper team is the Arizona Cardinals. There's been a lot of talk on, are they underrated, are they overrated? And I seriously don't think they get talked about enough. Kyler Murray, I think, is going to have an absolutely phenomenal year. They got DeAndre Hopkins in an absolute lopsided trade from Houston to add there with Kyler Murray. And they just made Budda Baker the highest paid safety in the NFL. So we'll have to see if the Cardinals really can be that sleeper team. And I have the Seattle Seahawks making the Super Bowl and coming up just short to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. There are your NFL predictions, and that is your NFL news. All right, we'll move on now to the MLS. And I don't have a lot of headlines for any of the other sports coming up, but Deloy Hansen is going to sell Royal Salt Drake amidst his investigation. He's going to sell Royal Salt Lake. He's going to sell the USL team. So Deloy Hansen no longer owns a football club. Austin FC sets to make their debut next season as their season tickets have now sold out. DC United going through a lot of changes right now, and they add Gelman Rivas to help boost their offense. Hopefully he can come in there, but DC United's been battling injuries and everything like that. Minnesota United had a big sign as they signed young midfielder Emmanuel Reynoso. He is supposed to be an absolutely phenomenal player when he gets up to this level, and Minnesota United hopes to make a run in the MLS Cup playoffs. DC United midfielder Felipe Martins is going to have ACL surgery. And again, DC United just going through a lot. Pity Martinez transfers out of Atlanta United. And I thought Atlanta United was going to rebound, and they've looked okay. But again, they have not looked as good as I thought they were going to look. Michael Bradley is sidelined with an MCL sprain. So don't know when Michael Bradley is going to return to the pitch for Toronto FC. But the Toronto FC captain going to miss some time. Messi, big news here. Lionel Messi, as he announced that he wanted to part ways with FC Barcelona. He's going to return to FC Barcelona until at least June of 2021. Messi, the situation has been a mess, says that he is going to stay on advice from himself and other officials and agents. So going to stay in Barcelona at least for another year. New York Red Bulls part ways with their head coach, Chris Armas, and a lot of people said, well, the writing was on the wall. They were going to get rid of him sooner than later, and that is just what they did. They are headlines, some scores and stats. Seattle and LAFC played in a pretty lopsided game. Seattle ended up beating still Carlos Vela-less LAFC. Raul Ruidiaz and Jordan Morris were the two goal scorers for Seattle. Jordan Morris scored twice as Diego Rossi put in too little too late at the 60th minute for LAFC, 2 cards for each side. Columbus and Philadelphia faced in a battle of some of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Lucas Zelarayan, a rebound goes his way, and the only goal of the game, credit to him, as Columbus beats Philadelphia 1-0. LA Galaxy was a team that I said we should have worried about, but now they're one of the hottest teams in Major League Soccer as they beat MLS's back tournament champion, the Portland Timbers, 3-2. And Diego Valeri, again, just too little too late in the second minute of stoppage time at the end of the game. Got Portland back within 1, but was not enough as LA Galaxy beats the Portland Timbers 3-2. And the Houston Dynamo are also one of the hottest teams in Major League Soccer after being Sporting Kansas City 5-2 on the road. They come home and beat them 2-1 and come from behind fashion as Albert Ellis and Mauro Manotas scores off the bench for the Houston Dynamo as Maynor Figueroa gets the only card of the game. There are scores and stats, and much like baseball, I'm not going to have predictions for the MLS as I feel like I've covered pretty much everything. So here are how the standings are shaking up right now. Columbus Crew, Toronto FC, and Orlando City, the top 3 teams in that Eastern Conference. And the Eastern Conference is pretty competitive towards the top, but as you get closer to the bottom, it's falling apart there towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Definitely rebuilds for about the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the Eastern Conference. But in the Western Conference, it's a lot more wide open. Every team has 9 or more points. And, of course, Houston Dynamo, LA Galaxy, 2 of the hottest teams in Major League Soccer. But Sporting Kansas City still stands on top of that table as Phase 1 of this MLS restart is supposed to come to a close sometime this week and maybe early next week. So we'll have to see how each team finishes out Phase 1. There is your MLS news. All right, and as we move along here to Major League Baseball, the Oakland A's revealed they had a positive test, and the Astros and A's game was canceled that day. The entire series ended up getting canceled. The Padres get Mitch Moreland a day before the trade deadline from the Red Sox. More on the trade deadline in a little bit. Tigers outfielder Jacoby Jones is hit by a pitch, fractures his hand. He missed a couple games, and I think is still slotted to miss a few more. And Tigers playing some good baseball right now. They're definitely going to miss Jacoby Jones. The Pirates on the second ward, number 21. Every player did to honor Roberto Clemente. A great scene here from the Pirates as they honor a huge star in Major League Baseball, Roberto Clemente. Hall of Fame pitcher Tom Seaver dies at 75. Again, I never had the privilege of watching Tom Seaver. It was just before my time, but was an absolutely terrific pitcher in his time. Sad to see him go at 75. The Athletics resumed play on Friday. So the Athletics got back fairly quickly as teams that are getting these positive tests are coming back quicker and quicker. So the Athletics, one of the better teams in Major League Baseball this year, back on the field. Clayton Kershaw reaches his 25th 100 career strikeout on the 3rd of September. He's only the second Dodger pitcher to reach that mark, and he's climbing the ranks of all time in career strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw, one of the best to ever do it. The Nationals give their general manager Mike Rizzo a 3-year extension after he helped them win the World Series last year. Nationals struggling in the National League this year, definitely off to a slow start, and with the season more than 2/3 of the way over, Nationals got to pick it up if they want to get into a playoff spot. We'll look at standings here at the end. The Orioles outfielder Anthony Santander likely out for the season after suffering an oblique injury. So the Orioles, again, playing some good baseball right now, playing some pretty solid baseball. They're definitely going to miss Anthony Santander. There are your headlines. Now let's get into the trade deadline. It was a busy trade deadline, and here are all of the major deals that took place. The Padres get Mike Clevenger from the Indians, and this was the biggest deal of the trade deadline. That it was so many players were traded back and forth. I believe the Padres got 2 more along with Mike Clevenger, and the Indians got 6 from the Padres. And I will go through the winners and losers of each trade here in a little bit. The Athletics get Mike Minor from the Rangers. Now, Mike Minor has not pitched his best season by far. I think has over 5.3 in ERA, which is not good at all. But in his last outing before the Athletics picked him up, he no-hit the Dodgers through 6 innings. So maybe Mike Minor can start pitching better with one of the better teams in Major League Baseball this year. The Blue Jays get pitcher Robbie Ray from the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks dealt away a lot in the trade deadline. Robbie Ray was one of those pitchers as he goes to the Blue Jays, and they dealt away Starling Marte as the Marlins are going to pick up the second baseman and outfielder, Starling Marte. The Blue Jays also get Jonathan Villar from the Marlins as Bichette is still on the injured list, so Jonathan Villar going to come in and play shortstop for the Blue Jays until Bichette can get back. The Rockies get outfielder Kevin Pillar from the Red Sox as the Red Sox just need to make changes. They are the Red Sox are not playing good baseball at all. Last place in their division and nowhere near a shot at the playoffs as of right now. So the Rockies get Kevin Pillar, and the Red Sox definitely going to be rebuilding next offseason. The Reds get a couple of deals as they get Brian Goodwin from the Angels and Archie Bradley from the Diamondbacks. So they get Brian Goodwin to help in the outfield with guys like Nick Castellanos, who is just playing out of his mind. And the Reds get Archie Bradley to help with that bullpen, already a pretty darn good starting pitching lineup, now strengthening that bullpen as the Reds hope to make a run to get into the playoffs. The Mets acquire Robinson Chirinos and a friendly face, Todd Frazier, from the Rangers as the Rangers dealt away more at this trade deadline. And in the final notable deal, the Blue Jays acquire Ross Stripling from the Dodgers. You knew Ross Stripling was going to get dealt this trade deadline, and he happens to go to the Blue Jays. So who won and lost each deal? Basically, every team that you see listed first ended up winning these deals. I looked at all these, and there are still some players to be named and stuff like that. But overall, big winners at the trade deadline, San Diego. They got absolutely stacked. Cincinnati, they got a lot of help. Toronto is a big winner at the trade deadline as well, getting 3 pretty good players in Stripling, Villar, and Robbie Ray. Big losers at the trade deadline, Arizona. Arizona's got to be one of the biggest losers at this trade deadline. Texas, dealing away a lot, not getting terribly much in return, although that Mike Minor deal might benefit them a little bit. But Mike Minor is a pretty good pitcher when he is pitching well. And I'm also going to go with the Dodgers as a big loser. Just didn't really do much and went away Ross Stripling for not a lot in return. Also, the Yankees, they did not make a move as they've been riddled with injuries and not playing the best of baseball right now. So, yeah, Yankees, again, big losers at the trade deadline. But there is your trade deadline coverage. Let's take a look at some scores from the past week. The Braves beat the Phillies with 10 runs in the top of the second inning, 12-10 as A.J. Minter picks up his first win of the year, and Melancon gets his 6th save. The Braves beat the Phillies in Sunday Night Baseball. The Orioles beat the Blue Jays in 11. They had a go-ahead RBI in the top of the 11th, and then the bottom of the 11th, they threw out the tying run at home plate for the final out as Valdez gets his first win on the year. The Giants scored 23 runs against the Colorado Rockies as Dickerson just had a monster of a game, 5 of 6 with 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. And every time he got on base, his teammates drove him in for a run as the Giants scored 23, and Gray gets his 4th loss of the season. The Mets beat the Yankees in the Subway Series in the 10th as Pete Alonso hits a walk-off 2-run home run to give Abreu his first loss on the year. The Angels beat the Astros in 11 as Mike Trout gets his 299th career home run and scored the game-winning run as he was driven in by Ohtani. I believe that was something like his first walk-off RBI in his career, something crazy like that. Mike Trout would hit his 300th home run the next day, and that now breaks the Angels' franchise record. The Indians beat the Brewers 4-3 as Josh Hader allowed his first hit of the season as the Indians walked it off in the bottom of the 9th, and Josh Hader credited with the loss. There are scores and stats. Again, no predictions, but let's look at some standings. Again, the Eastern Conference still pretty much set. You got all 8 teams with basically an 85% chance or above to make the playoffs and very little wiggle room for everybody else. While in the in the National League, still wide open. Of course, you got the top 2 teams in each division look pretty much set, but there's still a lot of wiggle room at the bottom here. But the reigning World Series champions not looking like they're going to make the playoffs, but still a lot of room for the top 4 teams in each division to move around and get into these playoffs. So American League pretty much set, but the National League has got a lot of playing out to do. That is your MLB news. All right, now we move on here to the NBA, where the first round wrapped up and the second round has kicked off. Here are some headlines. The NBA fines PJ Tucker and Dennis Schroeder $25,000 each for their altercation during Game 5. Just had a little bit of a fight, and the NBA fined them for it. Couple more awards got handed out this week as Pelicans forward Brandon Ingram wins the most improved player of the year. He just played absolutely outstanding this year, totally deserving of that award. Michael Jordan buys a stake in DraftKings. Sorry, there should be an S at the end of that. And he becomes an advisor for the fantasy league and gambling league. DraftKings has exploded with all this COVID stuff, and Michael Jordan, smart to buy a stake in, as now he is an advisor in DraftKings. The NBA fines Marcus Morris $35,000 and Luka Doncic $15,000 during separate incidents in Game 6 of that series, as Marcus Morris, with a nasty play on Luka Doncic, got him ejected, and Luka Doncic not happy with an offensive foul call, threw the ball at the legs of the officials, so both of them get fined. Steve Nash signs a 4-year deal to become the Brooklyn Nets head coach. The Hall of Famer is going to coach the Brooklyn Nets, and he has inherited quite a team with Kyrie Irving, Karis LeVert, Kevin Durant. Watch out for the Nets next year. A couple more awards handed out. The Grizzlies, John Morant, no surprise here, wins Rookie of the Year with 99 out of 100 first-place votes, winning by a landslide. And the Clippers forward Montrezl Harrell wins Sixth Man of the Year, as the Clippers have won Sixth Man of the Year 3 straight years in a row. Let's look at how the first round ended out. Houston ended up beating the Thunder in 7. Denver came back from down 3-1 to win in 7, and the Clippers ousted the Mavericks in 6. I'll let you pause the video and go ahead and take a look at scores. But my predictions were all right for the first round. I predicted every single team right to move forward in the NBA playoffs. You can pause the video now and take a look at it. But the first round finished up last week due to the pause in play because of protests and everything the week before. So here's how the second round is shaking out. Houston up 1-0 against the Los Angeles Lakers. Game 2 is being played tonight. Clippers and Denver tied at the game apiece. Toronto and Boston tied at 2 games apiece. But let's talk about the Miami Heat for a second. Pun absolutely intended. They are the hottest team in the NBA right now, and they could sweep the Bucks out tonight. I had originally picked the Bucks in 7, as you're going to see here on the next slide, but man, oh man, have the Miami Heat just absolutely come alive. They're doing it. Again, Miami Heat could win their first title this year since LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh won one back in, I believe, 2013, 2014. I'm pretty sure it was 2013 now I'm saying that out loud. My apologies, but the Miami Heat are absolutely the best team in basketball right now, and I have no trouble saying that. They are playing absolute lights out, and whoever, Toronto or Boston, whoever comes out of that series is going to have their hands full with the Miami Heat. And here are how my predictions are faring. Again, the Milwaukee Bucks prediction, I've thrown that out the window, but the Raptors in 6 still alive, Clippers in 6 still alive, and the Lakers in 6 still alive, as that wraps up your NBA news. All right, our final sport of the day, as always, the NHL. Let's get into it. El Paso, Texas is named Hockeyville, USA. So before the season started, the NHL had this big contest of trying to find the most passionate hockey fans in America, and they were going to get $150,000 in rink upgrades and get to host a tournament of some sort. And El Paso, Texas is going to get those $150,000 in upgrades. And El Paso, Texas, named Hockeyville, USA. Jacques Martin is hired by the Rangers as a defense and penalty kill coach. I can't remember where Martin came from. If anyone can let me know down in the comment section below. But Martin, a pretty good assistant coach in and of himself, could very well find himself in a head coaching spot one of these days, but is going to be the Rangers defense and penalty kill coach. Penguins forward Sidney Crosby has wrist surgery, but will be ready for the season, which has no concrete plans as of right now, but talks of them slating to start in November, December, somewhere around that time. The Panthers hire former Blue Jackets assistant executive Bill Zito as their GM, as Dale Tolland was out. So Bill Zito is going to come in, and he was a guy that the Blue Jackets were very interested in keeping, but Bill Zito is going to now be the general manager of the Florida Panthers after he was the assistant general manager for the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blues open up the trade market as they trade away backup goalie Jake Allen to the Canadiens for draft picks. Again, just what the goaltender market in the NHL is never what we expect it to be. We always think goaltenders should get way more return than they actually get. In this case, the Blues got a 3rd round and 7th round pick for this year's draft, as the Canadiens also got a draft pick along with Jake Allen. Jake Allen more than likely going to play backup to Carey Price, but the Blues have said we're going with Jordan Binnington in net for the future. So that opens up the goaltender market and opens up the trade market. Zdeno Chara, after being ousted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, says he wants to stay in Boston. He's played for Boston pretty much his entire career, and the fans love him in Boston. He loves the fans in Boston. And I see no reason why you don't keep Zdeno Chara, the biggest player pretty much to ever play in the National Hockey League for the Boston Bruins. Vegas Golden Knights' Ryan Reeves is going to be suspended the first game of that series against Dallas, which kicks off tonight, for the hit on Tyler Mott during Game 7 of that Vancouver series. I don't think it was anything that warranted a suspension, but Ryan Reeves is going to sit out a game. There are your headlines in the NHL. Let's take a look at how the first round shaped up. Of course, the Lightning beat the Bruins in 5. The Islanders, Knights, and Stars all had a 3-1 series lead. And Philadelphia, Vancouver, and Colorado, all of them forced Game 7. So Vegas and Vancouver, Colorado, and Dallas played Game 7s on Friday. And Dallas ended up winning in overtime as Kiviranta is the first rookie to score a hat trick in the Game 7 of a Stanley Cup playoff game as the Vegas Golden Knights finally figure out Thatcher Demko and beat the Vancouver Canucks in 7. And the Islanders shut out the Philadelphia Flyers 4-0 as they move on to the conference finals. Here are how my predictions fared. I predicted the Flyers in 7. I was close, but not quite. I predicted the Avalanche in 6. Again, I was close, but not quite. Knights and Lightning, I did predict right. So here are the conference finals in the NHL. We are going to have the Lightning and Islanders in the Eastern Conference Final and the Knights and Stars in the Western Conference Final. This Eastern Conference Final, I'm going to break it down just a little bit. This Eastern Conference Final is going to be a fun series to watch. Tampa Bay is definitely exercising all of their demons after being ousted by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round with a sweep last year as they were the President's Cup Trophy winner last year. But making up for everything this year is they're very close to a Stanley Cup final appearance for the first time since 2015. But the Islanders, one of the hottest teams in hockey right now. Islanders could get Steven Stamkos back. They've had some other injury problems besides him, but if he plays in this series, it is a different series. That series is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Vegas and Dallas. Dallas has not been this far in the playoffs in forever, and Vegas looking to get back to their second Stanley Cup final in franchise history in their very short 4-year history. Dallas has been the surprise. You could say Dallas and New York both have been the surprise of the playoffs so far, but to me it's been Dallas. I picked them to get ousted by the Calgary Flames in 7, and then when they won that, I'm like, there's no way they're beating Colorado. Just Colorado's got too much offense. Dallas proving they have offense too. They needed it against Colorado, and it came through, but Vegas just plays a brand of hockey that is so hard to play against. It's absolutely unreal. So who do I think is going to make the Stanley Cup Finals? Here you go. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning that series in 7. Tampa Bay's just played amazing. Columbus gave them all they could handle in the first round. The Boston Bruins gave them pretty much all they could handle in the second round, but Tampa Bay won both series in 5. They're looking like one of the better teams in the National Hockey League right now. I predict the Lightning to win in 7. I do think it's going to be close. I think New York is going to want to get back to the finals for the first time in a long time for their fans and everyone else, as families are now joining the NHL bubble, but still have the Lightning winning in 7. And I have the Vegas Golden Knights winning in 6. Again, I just think Vegas is such a hard team to play against. Dallas is going to have their hands full. I think it's going to be a good series as Vegas and Vancouver did not score a lot of goals while Dallas and Colorado did. We'll have to see which team continues their momentum, but I do think Vegas is going to move on to the Stanley Cup Final, which sets up the Tampa Bay Lightning and Vegas Golden Knights for your Stanley Cup Final. I think that could be a pretty interesting final to watch. That is your NHL news. All right, that is going to do it for this week in sports. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you are brand new to the channel, or you just enjoy my content, turn that notification bell to join Tailgate Nation. Leave a comment down below. Give me your thoughts on this week in sports, and go check out my college football channel because, baby, college football is back, and it is going to be different, but man, is it great to have college football back. I'm going to be doing weekly videos on that channel as well, so go check that out. Put a link in the description below. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to play hard and tailgate harder, and I will see all of you lovely people next week. Goodbye.